Morning. Welcome to the podcast. My guest this morning is Dr. Jeffrey Hartman from the Guyan City Schools. Welcome back.
Good morning.
Always glad to have you here. You got a whole 6 month in at the superintendency over in Guyan thus far.
Yeah.
How's it going so far with you?
Oh, it's going great. It's going great. We're doing some pretty cool things. We're starting to see some results come from some of the work that the hard work that our teachers are doing with our kids, and we have some pretty neat plans moving forward. So I'm looking forward to the next 6 months.
All right, to the next 6 months. And speaking about 6 months, we're about up on mid-year, aren't we already?
Yeah. Semester one just ended. We're in the throes of semester two, and all the fun that the weather brings with that.
Yes. That's one day it's pretty warm, and another day it's a whole other. Next week, I guess, it's going to be kind of very cold. I understand. So anyhow, we're up about mid-year, so we're there, and I know January traditionally in a lot of districts that's their board organizational meeting.
Yep.
I think you said before we went on air that's actually coming up right to actually the day we're pre-recording this.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that this evening. And seating a new board member, and then whenever the listeners are hearing this, we hopefully will have selected another board member. We have a vacancy that we have applications for, and we've had quite a few applications. I've been pretty impressed with the response from our community to participate in the education process for their kids, and moving Guyan forward.
Well, it is about moving things forward and education of our young people, and
absolutely
to make productive citizens out of all of us. I mean, we need a productive society.
Yes.
And a literate and a society that's educated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of where it's gone now. Any particular things about goals and objectives for maybe this that you might want to talk about a little bit here?
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed and that the district has put an emphasis on has been improving the relationships between our teachers and our students. We know that when you have good relationships with people, it just makes things that much easier. And I'm still getting to know people; they're still getting to know me. But regardless, whether you're a top performing district, you always have a desire to improve the relationships between kids and staff. One of the concepts we've introduced is something called the instructional core. It sounds kind of technical, but really, anytime anybody learns anything, there's basically three parts. There's the teacher, the content, and the student. And the schools typically do a good job with teacher-content interaction, and not so much with the teacher-student interaction. That's always something that needs to be bulked up. We like to talk about things and stuff, student content interaction. We buy textbooks and the curriculum, but it's always the practice piece for teachers. It's always the how do I help do better things with my kids? What's the practice that I need to engage with, resulting from the data that I have? How can I be more efficient with my time? Because time is such in short supply for everybody. So that's one of the concepts that's been introduced recently, simply to help wrap our heads around all of the different things that happen in public education. If you sat down with your resident teacher or resident educator in your family, ask them to make a list of all the things they're supposed to do, you'll get quite an exhaustive list. So the instructional core is a concept that helps us understand that it doesn't really matter what's floating out there. It always comes back to those three things: teacher, content, and student, and how do we improve the interactions between all those things.
Well, I think that's a point well taken. The mechanics of it a lot of times are fine. We know the mechanics. We know, well, I'm teaching this, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes where we fall short is in the relationship part.
Right. And that's in the relational piece that takes a lot of emotional energy.
Yes.
Especially when you're dealing with students like the demographic that we have. 10 years ago, our free and reduced lunch population was in the low 50s. I think it was 51%, if I remember right. And today we're at 62%. So the students that are in need continue to increase, and that takes a lot of emotional energy with our staff. And if you keep piling stuff onto them, they don't have enough emotional energy to deal with the student side of things. So introducing the instructional core helps everybody understand just a little bit of how this all kind of fits together. Because if you don't have something like that, you don't have a map, your anxiety's that much more because you're confused. You feel burnt out. You feel like there's too many initiatives. How does this all fit together? Well, it all fits together because we need to improve those interactions between teacher, content, and student.
And these things don't happen overnight.
And they don't happen overnight, no, and that's important for everybody to realize. But just sometimes giving people a map can
Yes.
help ease the anxiety of, oh, well, that's how that fits.
Yeah. I think sometimes people, they don't mind where people are leading them, but they just like to know where they're going.
Absolutely.
In the process,
Yeah,
because that's where the apprehension is. So, well, where is this really leading?
Right.
And
right.
then somebody, normally by the end of that conversation, they're either in or they're out,
Yeah.
kind of into that.
Yeah.
Would you
yeah.
agree that's kind of the way it looks? Or?
Yeah, I do. The kind of the beauty of something like the instructional core is, and this is how I mention it to staff and to administrators, it doesn't matter who's in the governor's office. It doesn't matter who's in the legislature. It doesn't matter who's in the superintendent or the principal's office. The instructional core will always be there. The teacher, content, and student, those three things, and our job as educators is to make sure that we have high quality interactions between those 3 points. That's it at the end of the day. Testing will help us do that. Data helps us improve that. Better curriculum will help us improve that. But at the end of the day, it's those 3 things, and they'll never change. From the beginning of time, when somebody learned something, there was always those 3 things.
And those are all things that have to be executed.
Yep, absolutely.
And, all this is a process.
Yeah.
All right, anything else you'd like to share with us today while I've got some time here?
One of the things, and I mentioned early, some of the test score results, we've had our 3rd grade state test results, so we test our students in grade 3 at the beginning of the year, usually in October, and we get those results back. We've had the highest result in our 3rd grade state tests in the fall than we've ever had before. I'm not going to share what the number is because I don't remember that number,
right.
But I remember that it was well above what performance has been in the past by a wide margin, and I think that's a testament to a lot of the hard work that our elementary teachers are doing, and when it comes to curriculum mapping and reflecting on their practice and responding to the needs of our kids. So we're starting to see some really great movement, and then internally, the testing that we do, the benchmark testing all along, just to see how kids are doing. We've seen some pretty significant growth in our kids as well. So we're moving in the right direction. Gallion's in a good spot to really spring forth in a couple of years.
Well, it's like the turning radius of the Queen Mary. It doesn't happen real quickly.
No.
Sometimes you don't even notice she made a turn.
Yes.
But it takes time.
Yes, it does. It does take time.
I guess the good part I would take from what you're saying today is it looks like, from what you're saying, and pretty obvious, that you're moving in the right direction in that area in the elementary.
Yeah. Well, and that's the important thing about just giving our staff and our community and our students just a vision for the ability to perform at a high level. We have smart kids. They can do hard things, and we can do hard things together. But it does take time, and we're not going to give up.
No. Well, I think on that positive note, we'll end our podcast. I want to thank Dr. Jeffrey Hartman, Superintendent of the Gallion City Schools, for being my guest today on the podcast.